The technique in this video will save your life. And if not literally, although it could save your life literally, I'm talking about figuratively. It will save your life, as in your happiness, your lifestyle, your finances. If you are married or have children, it can help them out. It will create a lot of peace of mind knowing you have this system in place in your life. It certainly makes me feel better now that I have this system in place in my life. And it is not a new concept. It's a concept that a lot of us in the international five flag space have been discussing with each other for about 20 years, maybe even longer. But only recently has this concept kind of come out into the public, and more people in the public are now discussing it. And that is, where can you be in 72 hours? I am Caleb Jones. This is Alpha Male 2.0. I make a multi-six-figure location-independent international income while dating multiple attractive women, and I teach men like you how to do the same thing. And this is something that is easily said, but not easily done. And some of you, a percentage of you, are going to think that this is overkill, that I'm going to describe this, you're going to think, oh, I'll never need that. Just like people in Germany in 1939 said, I'll never need that. Just like people in Zimbabwe said, I'll never need that. Just like people in Venezuela said, I'll never need that. Just like many people now in Argentina and places like that, I'll never need that. It's fine. Nothing will ever go wrong with my country. Europe isn't collapsing. It's not collapsing. It's ridiculous. I mean, come on, this is stupid. America, I mean, we're having some problems, but things will be fine. Everything works out. I mean, have you looked at the stock market, Caleb? I mean, if you look at the beginning of the stock market, the line just keeps going up and up, so it'll just keep going up forever. Nothing ever bad will happen. And that's fine. I understand a percentage of you are going to have that response to this video, and that's perfectly fine. I am an individualism absolutist. Do whatever you want with your life. I'm not here to convince you. Instead, I'm here to help those of you who have an interest in this topic to make sure that you're safe long term, particularly if you live a five flags lifestyle, or even if you don't. Even if you just have location independent income or are working on something like that, I'm going to go through the details on how this works. And at the end of the video, I will give you the one thing that will save you no matter what in terms of this specific problem. So the concept is, where can you be outside of your existing country in 72 hours? That doesn't mean can you leave your country within 72 hours. That means within 72 hours, your feet are in a location outside of your country where you are safe in case something goes wrong with your current country. Most people are location dependent, so they can't even do this. They're kind of stuck where they are. So if there's a problem, they're kind of screwed. Some people, or a lot of people, are location independent, but have no backup plan. They have no plan B. There are a lot of guys, Alpha Male 2.0s included, who have location independent income. They have that, but if something happened to their country, they would not know where to go. They don't have flags or bases or options anywhere else in the world other than where they currently live. I've addressed this in past videos. Now, why is this important? I'm going to give you several reasons why this is important to happen. What happens if your country goes to war? What happens if? What if, especially if you have a smaller country and you can experience that war directly? What happens if the missiles start flying? What happens if you find on the news the tanks are on their way? I live in Dubai, and the odds of war in Dubai are very low. Matter of fact, I'll do a video down the road about that because some guys are concerned about this. But I'm realistic about this. If I know that there are tanks on their way to Dubai, odds are low. But if that happens, I have a plan to get out of there and be somewhere else within 72 hours. Another possibility is economic collapse. As I've said a billion times, the United States is collapsing right now. Canada is collapsing right now. Europe is collapsing right now. Western Europe is on its way out. Eastern Europe is not collapsing quite as quickly or as sharply, but it will certainly feel a lot of pain when, not if, when Western Europe collapses. If you have an economic collapse where people suddenly don't have any money and everyone's lining up at the banks trying to get their money out and the banks say, sorry, we don't have any money, and people are freaking out, where can you be in 72 hours? Another reason you want this is civil unrest. Not war, but civil unrest. I have said before, and I'm doubling down on this, I'm tripling down on this, I've said this many times, I've been proven right so far. In the United States in particular, you won't have a civil war. People are too fat and too drug addicted and too low T and too beta to actually grab a gun and shoot other Americans. That's not going to happen. But what is going to happen, and I said this many years ago and it came true, it's already come true, is regular civil unrest. civil unrest in most American cities, and it'll just be a regular thing that Americans who choose to live the rest of their lives in America are just going to have to get used to. Same thing with Canada, same thing with Europe. Certainly parts of Europe is already happening now. Civil unrest. What if there's major civil unrest? Where can you be in 72 hours? Another potential problem, and the cerveza sickness has certainly shown how this works, is supply chain shortages. What if you can't get water? What if you can't get food? What if the power grid goes out and you don't have any power for 2 weeks? 2 weeks. I mean, the power's out for 4 or 5 hours. People freak out, right? What if you can't get power for 2 weeks? Or food or basic necessities over a prolonged period of time? Where can you be in 72 hours? The last one, not as likely as these others, but it's still possible because it's happened, is what if your country experiences a coup, some kind of coup or sudden change in government or some kind of revolution? That happens. It happens. Now, maybe it won't happen in the United States. The other problems will. So it depends on where you live. Where can you be in 72 hours? There's a whole slew of possible reasons that you may want to have this in your life. And as I've said many times, the entire Western civilization is collapsing. And as I've already said, due to the entire world's overreaction to the cerveza sickness, just about every country in the world has completely mishandled their dealing with the cerveza sickness and has embraced some form of soft authoritarianism. These problems that I just listed are more likely now than they have ever been in our lifetimes. And as time goes on, they will become even more likely. As I've said, we are entering into a dark age, both economically and politically, for a lot of people. The next few decades are going to be very, very tough for a lot of people. Technologically, it's going to be great, but economically and politically, it doesn't look good. You've got to have an escape plan. You've got to have a plan B. Where can you be in 72 hours? So really quick, to define it again, I want to make sure you understand this. That doesn't mean you leave your country. You can leave your country within 72 hours, which by the way is 3 days if you didn't know. That doesn't mean you leave your country in 72 hours. That means at any given point in time, when you're home, when you're traveling, this is different. When you're home, you can, within 72 hours, within 3 days, be somewhere else. That means you're already there. You've already arrived. You're not getting on the plane in 72 hours. You're not crossing the border in a Jeep in 72 hours. You're already there within 72 hours. Do you have that ability? So let's think through some of these logistics. This sort of falls into 3 sections. So section number 1, you need to physically leave your country. So what does that mean? That means you can afford to buy plane tickets at a moment's notice. So if a plane ticket to wherever country you're going to go to costs $1,200 at a moment's notice, it's not something you schedule. Again, this is something immediate. You can immediately go buy a plane ticket. Do you have $1,400? Do you have that cash set aside somewhere? Is it cash or in the bank? What if there's a problem with the banks and you can't access those funds? So do you have enough money to buy at least a one-way plane ticket for yourself in cash somewhere in your home where you can grab that cash and run down to the airport? Do you have the money to do this? Will that money be available to you? Maybe you have gold and silver and crypto, and that's fine. But maybe your airport doesn't take Bitcoin or gold bars. So how are you going to do this logistically? How are you going to leave? Can you afford it? The next part of this, under physically leaving your country, is what are you going to take with you? So if you leave under these conditions, it may be possible you'll never return. So what are you going to take with you, and how are you going to take it with you? You can't pack up 4 or 5 big suitcases if you're trying to bug out of the country, right? That's not going to work. So you got to figure out what you're going to take with you and how you're going to physically transport it. You might want to think that through. The next aspect is, how are you going to physically leave the country? Are you going to get in a car and drive across the border? Will that be possible? Will there be traffic jams? Will there be border closures? Will there be a problem? Can you off-road this thing? Or are you going to leave by sea? Is that an option? Can you hop on a boat? Can you charter a boat? Sometimes, in many cases, leaving by sea is the easiest one. Sometimes it's easier leaving by sea than it is by land or air. Or air. And what are the logistics behind that? Can you leave by air? What if you can't leave by the air? Can you leave by sea? Do you have a backup plan for your air, land, sea travel? How physically are you going to leave the country? The next one is, are you legally able to leave? There are some Australians who literally, I can't believe you Australians. I can't believe the people you voted for. You literally can't leave your own country. A Western country And it's telling their people you can't leave. And even worse, in some cases, if you're already gone, you can't return to your own country. So are you legally allowed? Will you be legally allowed to leave your own country? This goes into the whole realm of having a second passport. So if for some reason your country gets locked down and now no one is legally allowed to leave, if you have a second passport, all you do is you whip out that baby, you show it to the airport, and they let you through. In most cases, it's not quite as simple as that. In some cases, I understand that, but that's the protection you have from having multiple passports. So are you able to legally leave your country whenever you want, even in a time of crisis? Speaking of being legal, what you legally need to do right now is you need to subscribe to this channel, click the dumb notification bell, like this video, and leave a comment on this video, regardless of what the comment is. The more interactivity I get on this content, the more of this content I will produce for free for you, so you're just helping yourself. Next aspect of physically leaving is, who do you need to bring with you? So I am married. I have an OLTR wife. If she's with me, and she's gonna be, right now she's not, I'm in Armenia, but I have to figure out how to not only get myself out of the country, but her out of the country. So if you have a live-in girlfriend, a wife, if you have small children that live with you, if you live with an elderly parent, how are you gonna deal with them? What are the logistics behind getting them outside the country as well? Or are they going to stay? You got to figure that out too, don't you? So there's a lot of logistics involved in physically leaving the country. The second aspect to this is, where are you going to go? And I bet the vast majority who watch this video don't know and don't have an answer to that question. You have literally no emergency plan, you have no backup plan, you have no plan B. And I've talked about this before, and guys like Andrew Henderson of Nomad Capital, he's talked about this. If you don't want to do 5 flags, fine. If you don't want to be an international lifestyle guy, fine. But at a bare minimum, you should have a plan B. You should have a place you can go within 72 hours where you'll be okay. And a lot of you guys, most of you guys, don't even have that. Not smart in this era where we live in a collapsing society. Not a good idea. You need a plan B. If you want some examples of some countries that I think are really good as places to move to or as plan Bs, you can click this video right here on 11 cool places that you can move to. I go through 11 good countries for you guys, and any one of those will probably apply to one of you. I'm sure you can look through that video and find at least one country that you will like or at least not hate to choose as a plan B. But that's the big question. Where are you gonna go? Next aspect to that is, how long can you legally stay there? So by the end of this year, I will have legal residency, full-time legal residency in 5 different countries. Matter of fact, probably 6. Not sure about the 6th one, but definitely 5 by the end of this year. I will be a legal resident of 5 different countries. That means I can go to any one of these countries whenever I want with no restrictions. Even if they're restricting other people, I can flash that residency card and get right in. When they don't allow tourists, when they don't allow people who are visiting, when there's a real problem, I can flash that residency card, I go through the fast lane in the airport, and I get right through because I'm a legal resident of that country. Pretty nice. And that will help me in case of somewhere I have to be suddenly. And if you don't have a way of legally going to a country in the middle of a crisis, you might want to think that through. Are you allowed to get in there? And how long are you allowed to stay? So maybe you go there and you get a 90-day visa. So if the crisis is over in 90 days, no problem, you just go back home. And maybe that's the case. But if the crisis is not over, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna renew that visa? You gotta fly somewhere else and then fly back. You gotta renew the visa. You gotta fart around with all that stuff. Are you prepared to do that if you're not a legal resident of your Plan B country? Something to think through. Here's another aspect to this. This is a huge one. Do you have everything you need already there? So as I said, if you're bugging out fast, you're not taking 12 suitcases with you. You're taking maybe a backpack and 1 bag. You're probably not even going to want to even check bags. I wouldn't in this scenario. So you've got a backpack and a bag. That's it. You might want or need more things than that. So when you arrive at your Plan B or backup country, do you have stuff there ready to go? Or will you arrive there into some hotel room and then sit around and go, okay, now what do I do? How do I work? How do I do this? How do I do that? You don't want to be in that scenario. You might have to go buy a bunch of stuff and, are you going to be able to afford it in times of crisis? I don't know. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But what are the logistics set up in terms of when you arrive? So I have several countries now where I have either an apartment or I have a storage unit that I can access anytime I want, 24 hours a day, because I have a code and a key. And I can go to these countries, I can access the storage unit, and everything I need is there. A nice office chair, a nice desk, a fan for when I sleep, all kinds of logistical stuff that I like to have that make me comfortable and make me effective in terms of my work life. So I don't need to worry about what are the working logistics of where I'm going to stay, the hotel, the Airbnb, what have you. It's already there. So me bringing a backpack and a bag is going to be more than enough because I already have most of the stuff I need already at these locations. And again, you don't need 27 different locations like I've got. I'm exaggerating, I don't have 27, but you know what I'm saying. One is fine, but that's a question to ask. Are you going to have stuff already there that you're going to need, or you get to sit there and figure it out? Next aspect of this is, can you afford to stay there? So some of you guys are going to have plan Bs or have a desired plan B of another reasonably expensive Western country. I love these guys who move from the United States to Western Europe. What are you doing? What the hell? Or move from the UK to Canada. What? What? What the fuck? No, it doesn't make any sense, I've said this before, to move from one expensive collapsing Western country to another expensive collapsing Western country. So what you might want to do is pick a plan B that is very cheap and inexpensive, like here in Armenia. It's super cheap here. There are a lot of really cheap countries in Latin America, Europe, Southeast Asia. There are a lot of really inexpensive countries. Can you afford to stay there for the prolonged future? Like I said, if there's a crisis and you leave and the crisis is over in a month, you just go back home. Fine. But what if it's not over for 6 months? What if it's not over for a year? What if you got to stay there a year and a half? Can you afford to live in a new location for a year and a half? Especially if it's a new country to you? Can you afford to do that? What if you have no income? What if the crisis has affected your income where now you have no income? Do you have money in savings that can support you in your new location after the money you spent to fly to this new location at a moment's notice and things like that? Have you figured all this out? Do you have a budget? Do you have all the numbers in place? Have you gone through those logistics? You see how complicated this gets? You see how many angles you need to attack before they occur? Very important. If you need help, by the way, on how to move or relocate to another country, you can get my course, my video course, escapeplancourse.com. The course is called Escape Plan, which is the entire point of this video. And that course will show you exactly step by step how to find a country and how to move to a new country with the minimum amount of work and hassle. Check it out. It's helped a lot of people. Now, that brings us to the third aspect of this, and that is the one thing that will save you, the one thing that will enable you to do everything else we've talked about in this video, and that is location-independent income, which is an Alpha Male 2.0 hallmark. It is the requirement of the Alpha Male 2.0 that your income be location-independent. Obviously, if your income is location-dependent, if you are stuck where you are, if you have to live in your city in order to get money to pay your bills, and something horrible happens to that city or that country, you won't be able to leave unless you have a lot of money in savings or you're going to go move in with family or something. God kill me. Other than those two scenarios, you're basically fucked. So objective number one for the Alpha Male 2.0, 5 flags or not, international or not, is develop your own location-independent business. I have all kinds of resources for you on this. It's not that difficult. You need location-independent income because that's one of the questions you have to ask. Once you're in your new location, you have out of there, it's now 72 hours and you're in your new location and you're safe. How are you going to pay your bills in your new location? Like I said, it's either location-independent income that has nothing to do with that country, or you have money in savings, or you're going to move in with someone who pays all your bills for you. Good luck with that one if you're a man. If you're a girl, you might be able to swing that. That's why I talk about Alpha Male 2.0. But if you're a dude, good fucking luck. I hope you have really rich, really generous parents. And I hope you don't mind living with your parents again when you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s or whatever. Jesus Christ. Also, there's another aspect to this, and I have mentioned this on prior videos. Location-independent income is strongest when it's income derived from outside the country where you live. So, if you are an American and you have location-independent income, but 90% of your customers or clients are in America, if something happens to America and you have to leave, now you're fucked. Yes, you have location-independent income, but if most of it comes from America and America has some kind of economic downturn, you're in big trouble. I live in Dubai. You know how much of my income comes from Dubai? About 1%. So if something happened to Dubai and I left Dubai, I'd be okay because I don't make my income in Dubai. Very simple. So wherever you live, ideally, your location independent income is not coming from that city or that country. Otherwise, you're kind of defeating the purpose of having a backup plan and having true mobility and stability throughout the rest of your life. Another aspect of this is savings. And so you're going to want some savings. You need, I teach this in terms of Alpha 2.0 financial planning, having an emergency savings account, either in cash in a safe or in a money market account that is ideally outside of the country where you live, and various other places where you have 6 to 12 months of expenses stored away in cash. And that could be either 100% cash or cash hedged by gold, which is even smarter, where you have a bunch of cash, but 30 to 50% of that is in gold coins. That way, if there's an inflation problem or a money printing problem or all that other good stuff, the value of your cash is protected by the gold. So, do you have money in savings? Do you have no money in savings? If I had no money in savings right now, the way the world is right now, I would be very, very, very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. I have, in terms of my emergency savings, I have 8 months. I have 8 months of expenses in liquid savings that I can access relatively quickly and easily. So no matter what happens in my life financially, and I have several income streams in several companies, if I lost 100% of my income, I'd have at least 8 months to figure it out. Not bad. You need money in savings, in addition to location independent income derived from outside of the country where you live, or at least most of it. Then you're covered. So that's it. Where can you be in 72 hours? I know where I'm going to be. I have several different backup plans. I can be in several different places. I can literally, in 72 hours, at a moment's notice, no matter where I am in the world, be somewhere else in 72 hours. So I sleep very well at night. All kinds of horrible things could happen to anywhere where I live, and all will likely be okay. Now, obviously, I'm going to get these in the comments. Well, what if this and what if that? What if you can't leave and what if this? And you can't account for every possible contingency. And correct. You can't account for every possible contingency. It is possible you could design this system in your life and it still may not work. But again, we're back to the odds. Your odds are much better if you have a 72-hour escape plan than if you have no fucking plan at all, which describes most of you watching this video. I would think very seriously about this. And if you want help as to an example of how I did this, you can watch this video here on my specific 5 flags plan, where I go through all the different flags I'm doing and gives you an example of something you can do. Anyway, I will see you in the next video. I hope this has helped. Have fun. Bye.